Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Green Flag. I'm your host, Lukas, Wacker, and with me, as always, we have Kyle Cushman, and welcome to the Phoenix 1 edition of the Fantasy Preview Special. We've got that on deck today. A couple of news and notes as well. F1 starting their preseason testing earlier today, so we can look at that a little bit. Not much to gain from testing, but we can still look at it nonetheless. We're going to overanalyze everything that we can, basically. But nonetheless, it's going to be a fun episode here today. 2-2 is the fantasy head-to-head, so make sure you stay tuned for that. It's a crucial week here. Who comes out on top after Phoenix. But before we get into all that, how you doing today, Kyle?
I'm doing good. Very excited for this upcoming weekend because, of course, we had F1 testing start, and it's just great to see cars on track. But it also means that we're, 1 week away from Drive to Survive. So that's awesome as well.
Yes.
But no, Phoenix this weekend, which, of course, is the championship race. So some things to potentially take from this upcoming weekend. But very excited for this upcoming weekend. Nervous about fantasy. I'm not going to lie. Last week I felt decent. Things didn't really play my way. I'm hoping to bounce back here because I can't drop 3 in a row. That's not good. So nervous for that, but feeling good overall.
That's good. And it is also basically the 1 year anniversary just past that since everything hit the fan. It's crazy to say that. Like, I wanted to start off with that for today's episode quickly because it's crazy to think how much has happened.
We were supposed to record the morning after.
Yeah, we were supposed to record on the Thursday of the pandemic being basically being, I guess, what's the word I'm looking for
starting,
here?
I guess. I don't even know.
It just being claimed as a pandemic from the World Health Organization.
Yeah.
It was just to think about everything that's happened over the past year is just crazy. And Phoenix, this race last year was the last race before we had everything go wayside last year. So this is kind of like the 1 year anniversary. If you want to look at it that way, it's not an anniversary we'd like to be celebrating. It's not a celebration at all, but this is just a bit of a bittersweet moment just to think of like what's happened over the past 365 days. So Phoenix definitely has a little bit of my soft spot in my heart just forever from this, just because it was like the last race before everything happened. So we went to Atlanta. We had the trucks and the haulers there. We just didn't end up getting the race there until with the pandemic break. So we're happy that NASCAR is back in full force this year. So let's get into the news and notes for today's episode. And it's not too much, surprisingly. It's a little bit more of a down week, quiet week, but we'll look ahead to the Bristol Dirt here as we have some new entries, including Kevin Harvick. He's going to be running the Bristol Dirt in the NASCAR Camping World Truck Series for David Gilliland Racing in the number 17 truck. He said in his press conference earlier this week that he said, I have no interest in running that race more than I have to. It's going to be the longest dirt event in history, and he's running double. He's doing the double that weekend with the truck series. So I don't know if something came together over 24 hours or if he was just, playing with the media a little bit there. So Kevin Harvick's going to be running the Bristol Dirt. So we'll see how he does in his return to the truck series, which has been long awaited, I say. He used to be in that series pretty regularly with Kevin Harvick Incorporated back when he owned his own team, but that was long ago, it seems. And we're happy to have Kevin Harvick back in the truck series for that upcoming weekend in 2 weeks' time. He's also going to be running some Xfinity Series races for Stewart-Haas Racing at COTA, Road America, and the Indianapolis Road Course. Of course, all 3 of those are being new to the schedule in the NASCAR Cup Series this season, so getting a bit of extra seat time with the practice sessions that are already allotted for those weekends as well. That's going to pay dividends for Kevin Harvick, I'm sure, for those weekends. So what do you make of Kevin Harvick here, going back to his old racing roots here with the going down to the lower series?
It makes a lot of sense here when you look at especially how Kyle Busch has kind of allotted his races, specifically in Xfinity. He's doing so looking at a lot of the new tracks to the Cup Series schedule this year, and it makes a lot of sense for somebody like Kevin Harvick, who has all of these ties to Ford, has these opportunities with Stewart-Haas and Xfinity, to go out and get some more seat time at some of these new places. So when you go cup racing there, you're not going in completely blind. So makes a lot of sense when you look at how things break down. It is funny, the dirt comment, only to go out and announce the next day that you're going to be running an extra race there as well. And nice to see that number 17 kind of become like almost like an all-star truck of sorts. this year, which has been really cool to see. Of course, David Gilliland getting in there, Riley Herbst a little bit. Now Kevin Harvick, we'll talk about it in a second, but Ryan Preece going to be running some there as well. Taylor Gray is going to be the main one as the season goes along, get some seat time there for a very young up-and-coming prospect for Ford there. But cool to see him go back down to the trucks there, kind of a throwback there as well. But the main thing is kind of those Xfinity starts as well. When you look at the road courses, surprisingly solid run earlier this season for Kevin Harvick to begin the year on the road course. We don't expect him to be kind of a winner contender, but when you look at how the schedule breaks down, you need to be in contention to at least get points at these races. So for him to go out, get those starts at the road courses in Xfinity, that's going to make a lot of sense here.
For sure. And then Ryan Preece as well is going to be in the 17 truck, as you alluded to there, at Nashville and Pocono. So Ryan Preece going to be running down in the truck series, something we haven't seen him run in. I don't know. I can't remember the last time he did, or if he's ever run in the truck series, to be honest. This would be a new venture for him, or at least an unfamiliar one, to say the least. So Ryan Preece going to be getting a little bit of extra seat time, keeping his nose in there. So obviously he's in a bit of a tough situation in the Cup Series right now with his open entry car. So we'll see if this maybe just presents the opportunity for him down the line. If that team does fold for next season or something like that, he does have something like this where he's proven himself on varying levels of motorsports and vehicles themselves that he can do something with them. So Ryan Preece going to be in the 17 truck. And then as well for the Bristol Dirt, this is probably the best storyline that's come out over the past week. Stuart Friesen's wife, Jessica Friesen, will attempt to run the Bristol Dirt race in the NASCAR Camping World Truck Series for obviously Halmar Friesen Racing in the number 62 truck. It will be the first time the organization has fielded two trucks in the same race weekend, as well as the first time in Truck Series history that a husband and wife duo will be competing in the same event, attempting to at least. She's going to have to qualify for the race, which is going to give it her best in the I guess the duels, the heat races. So yeah, I'm very, very excited to see what she can do behind the wheel. This is just going to be a really fun storyline to watch. I really hope they're in the same duel as well. That would be, or a heat race as well. That would be,
could you imagine?
That would be awesome if they could just put that together. I think just rig it. I don't care. Just put them in the same race. That would be so much fun to watch. And she also has,
if it's alphabetical,
maybe she has some extensive dirt modified and sprint car experience as well. This is not just, the wife just putting on the fire suit, as Kevin Harvick's wife used to say, or Joe Logano like to say. He just wears the fire suit in the family. This is someone who's had very much some previous racing experience. So it's going to be very welcome to see Jessica a part of the Camping World Truck Series lineup there at the Bristol Dirt Race. I'm super excited for this. I can't wait to watch it.
Yeah, it's just a cool, fun storyline for a family that has a lot of history on dirt as well. They've run a ton of races together on dirt. It's just that now it's going to be in NASCAR in the Camping World Truck Series on dirt. Yeah. So that's cool to see. Hopefully we maybe see that second Halmar Friesen truck return later this year at Knoxville as well. Potentially that would be really cool to see, depending on how things go, of course, at Bristol Dirt. But the main thing here I want to talk about is Ryan Preece, because for starters, I did check in. It will be his first ever Truck Series starts because he did obviously have an extensive career in like the well and modifieds, a couple of like K&N Pro starts. But his main foray into stock cars really was up in Xfinity with JD Motorsports, and then going on from there, spot starts with Joe Gibbs. We know how the story has gone. But the big thing here is that he's a Chevy Cup driver going down to race for a Ford team in trucks. And of course, he's not a Chevrolet affiliated driver or anything like that as a JTG driver, but I do think it's very interesting that Preece, a Chevrolet Cup Series driver, is going to be running for David Gilliland Racing down in the Truck Series for at least a couple starts here. And it's something where it definitely does look like he's just trying to get as many top-level rides as he can this year, at least in the trucks there, where he can show kind of like what he did back in 2017 and 2018 with Joe Gibbs, that he can go out and win races if you give him the equipment. And we've seen that 17 truck be very competitive at times this season. And it's a very interesting move because it's not one that I really ever anticipated seeing. You would have thought that if Preece was going down and running a race, for starters, it would be with a Chevy team, or it would be something like when he did those couple of starts with Junior Motorsports or something like that. So very interesting move here from Preece. I don't know what it means into the future here, whether that 37 car is maybe trending towards becoming a one organization team with the 47 there, or what it means into the future. But very interesting move from Priest here to run for a different manufacturer in the Truck Series here this season.
Yeah, I would have thought if he was going to go down to the Truck Series, it would be with Nice in that 44 truck. That just seems to be like the Chevrolet that's open down there, that just inviting all the Cup guys,
as we'll talk about.
Current,
exactly.
Right?
So very, very interesting move there. It's kind of like something, if you read into it a little bit, maybe there's something there, and we'll see obviously as the season goes along. But he is represented by Kevin Harvick's agency, so maybe there's something there to it. Last year in silly season, we thought that he might be a candidate for that 98 Xfinity car. So maybe there's something there, probably with Kevin Harvick and getting him a couple extra seats here. But very interesting move from Priest there, and excited to see how he does in that 17 truck when he does get in there later this year.
Yeah, and in that 44 truck as well, like I mentioned, Ross Chastain's going to be running at Atlanta in that truck. No surprise there, familiar territory. He ran in the 40 truck a couple of times last season
and
for the team.
Was very strong last year. He was definitely the best driver of the many drivers that came through Nice last year. He was definitely the one that got the most out of those trucks last year, which makes a lot of sense when you look at what he did the year prior with Nice. But excited to see Chastain down there as well, because Nice looks like they at least have more pace this year as well.
Yeah, they're off to a decent start, better than last year. Obviously, they've
had some rough luck at times, but in terms of raw pace, there's definitely some potential there.
Yeah, for sure. And then this is a great story as well. Richard Petty has been vaccinated, the king himself. That's just great to see it, and just pumping out the vaccines down in the States. Obviously, we'd just love to see more and more of these, elder statesmen of the sport just make sure that their health is a priority.
It's just so nice to finally see like the vaccine rollout just get more and more, and you see it a lot more in the States. Obviously, right now, Canada, it's supposed to be coming. We'll see actually when that starts to come here, but it's just nice to finally see more and more. Obviously, celebrities are going to be the ones that we hear about, but hopefully that in turn inspires more people to go and get the vaccine, and we can get this all done and over with much sooner than it needs to be.
Yeah, it's just a welcome sight that, like I said off this top, 1 year ago, look how much has happened, and now the King's been vaccinated basically on the 1 year anniversary. You couldn't ask for a better way to mark that occasion. So happy to see that. Hopefully we get to see more and more of these vaccines pumped out to every single person, because we want everything to come back to normal here. As much as we love doing this show virtually, I'm sure we would like to do it in a person environment. So I might lose the setup, but I'll take that at the expense of doing that. Yeah. So nonetheless, we'll move on here just quickly. Chase Elliott will compete in the Bristol Dirt Nationals next week. So this is the preliminary event that Bristol's hosting. They've had some testing over the past couple of weeks to get the track kind of cured into, so to speak. So Chase Elliott's going to be joining Kyle Busch in this event. I'm not sure who else is joining them in this one. I think there's a couple of others that have said.
Logano said that he was. I feel like that was a name that I saw. Like there's a handful of names now. So it's going to be a nice little fun week there coming up.
Yeah, I'm going to have to be tuning into that, because I don't think there's going to be a bounty on Kyle Busch for this one, like there was last year. Who knows? But if there's something really wrong.
There might be an unwritten one or something.
Yeah,
but
it's just cool to see the Cup Series guys going to these different series and just trying out these different cars. It just shows you how
different disciplines, right?
Yeah, and showing how really important this Bristol Dirt race is to them. That they don't want this to just be a throwaway race. They're really looking to try and get a good result out of there, no matter how good it is. iRacing just released the Bristol Dirt on their software this past week, so I'm sure they're going to be putting in some reps on there. How close it is to real life, we'll see. But I'm super excited to just see how that pans out. The Bristol Dirt race, it is what it is. We've talked about that at length on this show on how we feel about it. But
exactly, we don't agree with the decision, but we're still excited to see how it's going to play out.
Exactly. So that does it for the news, except for Formula One. We can look at that a little bit. Not much news on the NASCAR Cup Series, Xfinity, and Truck Series side of things, but it's time for Formula One. It is basically back in full swing. Preseason testing, a very condensed preseason testing this year. Only 3 days here in Bahrain. Obviously new this year compared to where they have been for Barcelona for how many years, but very, very cool to see cars back out on track in basically a sandstorm, but nonetheless, it provided some pretty cool pictures, and we can't look at the pace much at all, but we will anyways. Max Verstappen was the fastest in preseason testing earlier today, and you can't read too much into the speed. They were just doing their programs, their checks, checking every single box of what they can do in a day, and then they'll move on and then progressively
making sure stuff works
essentially, and just try different systems with the car. They're not pushing it. They're not going to show what this car is truly capable of, maybe until the last day, and they try to push it up a little bit. We're not going to see that they're going to get to max qualified speed here. They're just going to get to practice level speed.
They won't show their cards, exactly.
And just, take it easy for the most part, make sure everything's reliable. And Red Bull was reliable. They had the most laps logged today with Verstappen. He was the only one for Red Bull logging laps today. Perez gets the car tomorrow. They had a whopping 138 laps. That's 2.5 race distances in one day. So that's a lot of miles logged there for Max Verstappen. A very tiring day, so you can understand why he gets the day off tomorrow before he comes back on Sunday to give it another go there and split the ride with Perez. Mercedes actually had a lot of reliability issues today. They had some gearbox issues. Only got less than 50 laps out on track. Bottas only got 6 laps, and that was with the aerodynamic kind of pieces on the car, so that he couldn't really go full blast whatsoever. They just try to get the air maneuverability and how it was flowing over the car in information for the paddock. So yeah, I'm just excited to have cars back out on track. We saw the Ferrari release this past week. Yikes. It's not that great of a looking Ferrari, in my opinion.
We were joking about how simple it is and how it's going to be nothing, and then they still screwed it up.
I know. They put the green.
Like, what do you think?
Apparently that's not going to be on the car, it seems, for most of the season, if at all, just because of the issues that they've had with that sponsor in the past.
Yeah.
They wanted it to be like a attention grabber. And oh boy, did they do that. But the burgundy gradient at the back, no.
Like, it's just
it's too harsh
it's
of a
just
gradient.
a
And it's just, you just go with a flat red color with a glossier, not matte.
Ferrari, it shouldn't be hard.
It's just red, guys. Like, it shouldn't be this difficult. And so overall, disappointing year, I would say. Lackluster year for liveries from what we were expecting.
Highlights, but I think overall, with the potential that there was for a lot of fantastic schemes, it was very mediocre in execution for a lot of them.
Yeah, and then this next week we will be previewing the Formula One season, so make sure you come back for that next week. We're going to have that in store, so it's going to be a fun one. We're going to preview it like we had with the Cup Series, the Xfinity Series, and the Truck Series, with a little bit probably of an F1 twist, because it's not all you can't just cross it over so easily like that. So we'll look at that next week. So make sure you come back for that, because the season is very much upon us, and we have Drive to Survive, obviously, season 3.
I was going to say, Drive to Survive next weekend.
Am I more excited for Drive to Survive or the lights out for the season in Bahrain? I don't know.
I mean, we have seen Bahrain a lot, so it's a bit of a toss-up. But it's awesome as well, because everything we've heard so far in terms of reviews is that season 3 is
up there with season 1,
really
better.
Strong. Up there with season 1. Will Buxton said it's even better. So I'm super pumped to see what they do. There's a lot of storylines to cover. Obviously, some things aren't going to get that screen time that maybe we hope for.
George Russell didn't get his secure moment. I know that, because I watched the WTF one. That's such a heartbreaker.
There's only so much you can do.
I know. It was the big storyline of the year kind of thing there, but I can understand it was late in the going.
Overall, I'm excited to see what they do with kind of the first episode in Australia,
that's
and
the one
everything
I'm really
behind the
looking
scenes
forward
there.
to.
That one I'm fascinated to see about. I'm also really fascinated to see how they kind of handle all the pink Mercedes stuff, just because there is so much kind of nuance and technicality to it. I'm interested to see how they kind of portray that to a more general audience. So obviously all the on-track stuff, Gasly's win, I'm super pumped for, but there's a lot to be excited for next week.
Yeah, it's very much getting down to it, Mr. Cushman.
And I'm probably going to binge it all in one night.
Most likely. It's 40, 30-minute episodes, somewhere in that. And, I mean, you can just watch
usually
that,
in the 40-ish minute range.
You can bang that out pretty quickly, I'd say. So I'm going to be looking forward to it no matter what. Next Friday, of course, March 19th is the release date worldwide for everybody. Some people had the early access. What I would give for that early access, nonetheless, that does it for the news and notes, unless you had anything else you wanted to add on Formula One.
Maybe. Oh, no, just, some fun little bits of news, not a ton of stuff, of course. With the NASCAR specifically, we're kind of getting into the meat and potatoes of the season here. So news usually dies off this a little bit and then ramps up back over the summer as all the silly season stuff starts to kind of trickle in. Last year was wild. I'm thinking this year's going to be a little more tame, but who the hell knows? And then with F1, of course, we might get some things over the next week as we ramp up to the start of the season. But again, similarly, news kind of dies down in these couple months here and then ramps back up over the summer.
Yeah, that pandemic break just gave everybody a chance to have a bunch of news. So that was that opportunity last year with everybody having some downtime.
I mean, F1 had like have the grid change for the next season before even the first green flag dropped.
Yeah, it was God, what a crazy time it was just to think how much has happened a year ago. But yeah, that does it for the news and notes today. A bit of a shorter one for sure. But fantasy, we got to take our time with this one. This is a very important one. Who goes to 3-2 on the season in terms of head-to-head? I've got the big overall lead right now after a very successful weekend in Las Vegas last weekend. Of course, last week we did not get to preview the fantasy over a proper episode here. Ethernet cable was Ethernet. It was a little bit of an issue last week, to say the least. So we don't have that episode up for you guys because there was no episode to even begin with. So we'll get into this one. Hopefully that we have everything under control for the rest of the season here. No Ethernet cable problems or anything like that.
We're all good now.
We seem to be pretty good. Don't knock on wood. Let's get into the Phoenix #1, the first race at Phoenix. Obviously, this is the championship finale later on the season in November. So maybe you can take a little bit of notes here, but they do have practice later on the season for the championship finale. So it's not the end-all, be-all. If you struggle here, you have a little bit of opportunity there. I'm sure there's going to be developed over the course of these however many months. And then, of course, you have practice to dial in the car come the championship finale if you are so lucky to be in that championship 4. But let's get into the lineups here, Kyle. I'm the winner last week, so I believe you have the honor to start us off with this one here this week with your first pick for Phoenix.
Alrighty. Where do I want to start here? So just to kind of preface things, I feel like I'm going to go with 5 of the names I got here. Okay. And then there's 2 that I'm kind of tossing up as one of my last entries, but as one of my main entries as well. So it's very, very interesting as to where I go for this one, but I think I'll lead it off with one that I think you'll enjoy quite a bit, and that is Mr. Kyle Busch. He had a strong run last week, at least in the final stage, getting up there and getting a top 3 finish after being kind of a 10th to 12th place car for much of the day in terms of speed. Yeah. Phoenix here is back on the 750 horsepower package. That's where Kyle Busch really excels here. And at Phoenix, he's got some really strong results over these past handful of years. When you look at the past 6 races over the last 3 years, couple wins, 5 top 5s as well. So Kyle Busch, when you look at his season and how the tracks break down, probably a strong pick here at a 750 horsepower package track and at Phoenix here.
Yeah, I am going with Kyle Busch this weekend. Yeah. I still have all 10 usages on him, so I'm going to let him loose here this weekend after saving him at Homestead Miami Speedway. It just makes too much sense for me to put him in here. It's really good track for him over the past 6 races. He's got an average finish of 3.33, 2 victories, 5 top 10s, 491 laps led, and he's got a decent starting position, starting 7th. So you expect some stage points there potentially out of the 18 car. I saw a little bit what I needed to from Ben Bayshore and his communication with Kyle Busch this past weekend of dialing in the car, and Kyle does run really well here at Phoenix in the past. So it just makes a sense for, I don't know if necessarily it's going to be a winning day for Kyle Busch, but a solid points day, hopefully, for that 18 car here. I think this is definitely a track you look at to use one of your 10 usages if you still have that many remaining for the 18 car. My second pick here, I'm going to go in the Penske stable. Brad Keselowski is in my lineup this weekend. He's been so good here. Had the issue last year. He had that big wreck there with Denny Hamlin and Ryan Blaney, but he recovered to go back to the lead there basically in that final stint before a late race caution. I don't know how he did it, but he did it. He got back up there with track position and, of course, finishing second there in the fall to Chase Elliott to lose the championship there. Had probably the best car close to Chase Elliott there in that championship finale. Pit crew let him down at Phoenix in November, so he didn't quite have that opportunity to challenge the 9 car for the championship. But this track has been very, very good to Brad Keselowski in the past. Average finish over the last 6 races of 9.83, 3 top 10s, 45 laps led, and he's starting on pole in this event as well. So that does really well there with track position. I'm looking at him to probably lead the Penske trio this weekend, just based off of what I've seen in the early part of the season here. He's probably been the most consistent of the 3. And I'll just stick with Brad Keselowski as my second guy.
Yeah, Keselowski is an interesting one for me because he does have that super, super high end. When you look at the last race last year, of course, finishing second, probably should have won. Back to 2018, the playoff race there, finished second there. But other than that, there's been some kind of up and down kind of results here. I'm undecided as to whether I'll use Brad Keselowski right now is what I'll say. I'm debating between two guys for that one. Keselowski's one. There's another guy that I'm debating between. I think I'm going to go with Brad, but I don't want to commit to it just yet. Who I will commit to is somebody else from the Penske stable. I'm going back to the well with Ryan Blaney here. I feel okay using some of these early usages for him here. And at Phoenix, he's been really strong. In 2019, he finished third in both races at this track. 2020, he finished sixth in the season finale, of course. One of the top cars outside of that championship four, where in the championship race, we always see the top four be the championship four. And then other than that is kind of where the rest of the guys kind of go for the field. Jimmy Johnson getting that awesome top five, but right behind him there was Ryan Blaney in sixth. So showed speed in that second race there. The first race last year, of course, 37th, had the crash there. But Ryan Blaney, I feel good about him coming off of the momentum of Vegas here, has a good starting position. Penske's always strong at the 750 horsepower packages. I feel pretty okay going back to the well with Ryan Blaney here.
Okay. Interesting. I will say that. I am undecided on Mr. Blaney as of right now.
Okay.
Okay. Fair enough. I think you go again here with your third pick.
Okay. I'll go back here.
Snake. We got to go Snake.
Guy. Hey, that's very fair. That's very fair. I'm going to go with a bit of a value pick, I think, on this one. And I have the first Busch, so I got to go with the second Busch here. And Kurt, not a great starting position. Wasn't great at Vegas, but we kind of expected that for Kurt Busch. It's been his worst track statistically over his career.
Crazy.
He won there last year in the playoffs, which was nuts. But at Phoenix here, he's been super consistent recently. He's been in that kind of 6th to 12th range every single year here at Phoenix, and specifically at the spring race. He's been better. 7th in 2019, 6th last year at this race. I think he could be some solid value for Chip Ganassi team that showed some speed earlier this year, faltered a little bit at Vegas. I think that Kurt Busch could bounce back here and get a solid top 10 and it'd be a solid value pick potentially here at Phoenix.
That's a good value pick there, Mr. Cushman, because I as well have Mr. Busch in my lineup. I'm going with the Busch brothers this weekend. Kurt Busch is also in my lineup. Yeah. For all the reasons you just mentioned there, he's just such a good player, I think, here this weekend. Obviously, the track position is a little bit, worrying. Starting, I believe it's 12th, so it's not the worst at the end of the day. I'll take Kurt Busch because I just think this guy just is so consistent. Vegas is a bit of a one-off for him, in my opinion. I think he just comes and gets consistent top 10s.
I feel
week in and week out. And I'm going to keep Kurt Busch in my lineup here. I really, really, really like the one car this weekend to get you some solid points, some stage points potentially there. Maybe they pull a strategy or two. I just think Kurt Busch, especially on these 750 horsepower packages, I think Kurt Busch, he's better with this package than he is with the 550. I'll go with the one car here as my third pick, I guess that is. So
yes.
It's time for number 4 for me here. Speaking of number 4, let's go with Kevin Harvick here. I'm going to go with the 4 car this weekend. I can't look past his numbers here at Phoenix. He's just too good here. Obviously, that race in the fall, he struggled mightily. Maybe that was just them missing the setup potentially. I don't know. But they nailed it in the spring race where they finished second there to Joey Logano. So I'll give them the benefit of the doubt on that one in the fall. Obviously not a strong start to the season in terms of the mile-and-a-half packages that we've seen from the 4 team in the past, with Las Vegas being chaos for them, really. Really, really disappointing result there. But they come back to something that they're very familiar with here in Phoenix, and they usually dominate this West Coast swing. I think they come back to a bit more form here. 750 horsepower package, I think, benefits them a little bit more as well. I like Kevin Harvick here. Of course, starting 18th is not the greatest, but I'll still take it at the end of the day. With the amount of road courses we have this season, I'm willing to put Kevin Harvick in my lineup this weekend. Over the past 6 races, he's got an average finish of 4.83, 1 victory, and 6 top 10s in all of these. So I'll take that for Kevin Harvick in this one.
Yeah, the numbers are fantastic for Kevin Harvick. What I'll say here is you have found the other guy that I'm debating between. It's between Kevin Harvick and Brad Keselowski in the lineup for me.
Interesting.
The numbers lean towards Kevin Harvick here, but a bit disappointing last week. Didn't show much speed. We don't know what they're necessarily like on the 750 horsepower package this year. Toss up between Keselowski with the starting position or Harvick with the numbers for me. That's going to be my last decision, maybe a little bit of a team coming up here. My next pick, though, I feel pretty strong about here. They've been very strong to start the season. A surprise winner this season.
No way you're not.
Last year, 2 top 10s at this track, a 10th in the spring, 9th in the season finale. William Byron, welcome to the lineup here. He's been kind of quietly very strong at this racetrack in his Cup Series career, among his best average finish so far in his career, consistently in and around that 10th range. But the big thing for me is last year, 10th and 9th, and this year they've shown much more speed to start this season. So I feel pretty strong about William Byron once again starting near the front. We saw last week at Vegas at a track that he didn't necessarily have the numbers at historically, where he showed very, very strong, starting with that good starting position, 750 horsepower package. We saw what Hendrick did in the season finale, having multiple cars up inside that top 10 and obviously winning the race. William Byron, welcome to the lineup.
Okay. Interesting. I was a little bit worried there that you may have caught on to what I was looking at this weekend, but you didn't, it seems, right now. I'm not going with William Byron in my lineup, but I'm going with a guy that has won a race this season, and that's Mr. Christopher Bell. I'm putting him in my lineup this weekend. The numbers do not support this decision whatsoever, but
this is a fascinating one.
The key for me this weekend, I have 10 usages still left on this 20 car as well. I'm going to use him here just because Adam Stevens and Kyle Busch have had so much success here in the past. I really like the 20 car this weekend, off to a very strong start. He's starting 4th in this one as well. Had some poor results last year, but in the Xfinity Series, he did really well here for Joe Gibbs Racing. I think he finds his form here. At Phoenix, I'm going to put that down to the 95 car, struggling more so than Christopher Bell in that equipment last season. I think the 20 car could be a very, very undervalued, a very good value pick here, and a bit of a sneaky play here. So I'm going to go with the 20 car. I didn't want to go with the heavy hitters as much, maybe as what you thought, but I'm going to go with Kurt Busch and Christopher Bell as my 2 value picks here.
Bell's an interesting one. He wasn't necessarily on my radar because those Cup Series starts last year at this track kind of shied me away from him, but with that starting position with Joe Gibbs, there's a lot of sneaky value there potentially to be made up. So that's a nice little swing from yourself there. Yeah. So you've got 5, I've got 4, right? So I got number 5 coming up for myself, and it's fitting because it is the number 5. Kyle Larson will be in the lineup here. Maybe not necessarily a track that you would expect him to be very, very strong at, but over his last 4 starts here at Phoenix, all inside the top 6. 3rd in the playoff race in 2018, 6th in the spring race in 2019, 4th in the playoff race in 2019. And don't forget, he was actually in this race last season. It was his final race for Chip Ganassi before being suspended and the whole saga and everything. He finished 4th. And we saw what that 42 car was like the rest of the year. Again, starting up at the front here. Hendrick has shown strong 750 horsepower package at last year's race here. Don't forget, this is Cliff Daniels. This is the number 48 car that finished 5th last year with Jimmy Johnson in the season finale. Kyle Larson's been good here. I like their start to the season. I'm going to capitalize on some of that value early. Kyle Larson in the lineup.
Oh, now you put me in a predicament here. You put me in a real predicament.
Okay.
I have Kyle Larson as one of this extra guy here. Damn.
Well, take me through where you're thinking, because this is your final pick as well.
Yeah. So I've got Blaney, Larson, and Chase Elliott here for this last pick.
Okay.
And all 3 have exceptionally
I'm not gonna lie.
Really good numbers. Yeah. I have 2 usages already on Larson, and I looked ahead in the season, and I'm like, if I use one here, I'm most likely going to be using him at the Bristol Dirt. So then I'm down to 6 after this weekend if I play him and nothing goes wrong. That's really heavy on Kyle Larson early on in the season, but he's been so good on these tracks that it may teeter off a little bit later on. Chase Elliott has been really, really good here lately. Of course, won the race here in the fall. He led laps in the spring race last year and just didn't quite follow through on that last year. Then Ryan Blaney's this kind of sneaky guy, just kind of underlying, hasn't quite had the perfect start to the season that we were expecting from him. At least I was. I was expecting pretty big things from him out of the gate, but a little bit of a slower start, but he's been pretty good here at Phoenix. Oh, brother. So you have Busch.
Do you want the ones we have the same or all of my picks so far?
Yeah, all your picks so far, just so I get a sense of what
So far, I've got Kyle Busch, Ryan Blaney, Kurt Busch, Kyle Larson, and Willie B.
Oh, man. And you're probably going to go with Harvick or Brad here. That's...
Yeah, I will say I'm going between one of Harvick or Brad.
Damn. Okay. Oh, that's tough.
This is a good one, man. This is a good one.
Okay, I'm going to go with... who's in my lineup right now? Oh! I'm going to go with Kyle Larson. I'm gonna match you. I'm gonna match you. I'm gonna stick with my guns here. I'm so close to putting Chase in there. Oh my god, I need to put a Hendrick car in there. That's my only rationale with not going with Blaney. Yeah, I don't know. That's exceptionally difficult. I just want to save. Where is he starting?
Who are we talking about?
Where's Chase starting? Oh, he's starting in the top.
6th.
Damn, 6th. Okay, no, I'll stick with it. I'm gonna stick with my gut on this one.
Sticking with it.
I'm gonna stick with my gut here on this one. I think there is maybe potentially better tracks that are not road courses for me to use Chase Elliott in the future. So I'm gonna stick with the 9 car.
Okay.
We going with
now
the
my
2
brain's
to 4.
turning. Now my brain's turning. Now, if I didn't already have 200 cars in my lineup, I might throw the curveball and then go with Chase Elliott in my lineup. But I do want to save Elliott as well for maybe some more logical usages, maybe, even though Phoenix has been really strong for him last year. If you ignore the wreck in the first one where there's not really anything you can do there.
Yeah.
Brad or Kevin Harvick is where I'm going between here. I got to match you on one of those two. And you know what? I've been saying it all week long. I'm not gonna overthink things. I'm just gonna go with the stats tell me, and the stats are telling me Kevin Harvick here. Even though not a great starting position, even though last week wasn't very good, different package, and this is a track that Kevin Harvick is shoo-in for a top 10 at no matter what. Last year, of course, 2nd and 7th, disappointing in that championship race and still finished 7th. And look, he's just consistently in the top 10. And even if maybe they aren't the race winner in this one, I still got to think that they're up there in the top 10 and getting at least a decent chunk of points, right? This is Stewart-Haas, this is Kevin Harvick, and this is a track that both Harvick and Stewart-Haas as well have been really good at in the past. In the spring race last year, I think all 4 cars were inside the top 10, if I'm not mistaken. So this is a track that you would expect them to bounce back at. For Brad, he's been really high at times with a couple second place finishes here these last 3 years. But other than that, there's been some either wrecks or getting into other people's business and kind of finishing closer to that 10th place position. I feel that there may be some better value from Brad later this season. Just given what we've seen from Stewart-Haas on the 550 horsepower package hasn't really been up to par for them yet. So I'll take the swing on Kevin Harvick. Obviously, it's bold not going with Keselowski, given what we've seen from that team at the 750 horsepower package, given where they're starting as well. But I just see too much value with Kevin Harvick in the numbers. So I'm leaving Brad out of the lineup here.
Wow. I didn't think you could do it, man. I thought you were going to go Brad, to be honest. I
didn't want to, but
very fascinating to me.
I'm going with it.
I'm shocked that you don't have both of them in your lineup. Like I thought they were shoo-ins for both of us, but yeah. So that comes down to I guess Brad Keselowski and Christopher Bell, to Ryan Blaney and William Byron this upcoming weekend. So
A
intriguing.
couple Penske cars going head to head,
and 2 winners,
and then Byron and Bell, 2 surprise winners this year. So a couple fun storylines there to keep track of.
Definitely. So my lineup here, just for a brief overview: Kyle Busch, Brad Keselowski, Kevin Harvick, Christopher Bell, Kurt Busch, and Kyle Larson for me this weekend at Phoenix.
And I'm going with Kyle Busch as well, Kurt Busch as well, Kyle Larson, and Kevin Harvick as well, mixing it up, taking a swing on William Byron and Ryan Blaney here.
Yeah, that's a pretty star-studded lineup, Mr. Cushman. You went a little bit heavier than I thought you may this weekend.
Hey, look, if it was normal me, I probably would have had Eric Almirola in here as a value pick, but going too heavy on the value picks, I'm moving. This is a new era. We're moving on. We're going to get those big point totals. We're going to take the fantasy by the horns and run away with it. And that all begins here at Phoenix.
If you had to guess who you think you're going to garage on Sunday, who would you think has the most likelihood of being garaged?
Most likelihood of being garaged, I'd say right now, Kurt Busch. Just given that he's probably the most conservative pick of them, and he's probably a guy that finishes in that 8th to 12th range, but would be a little more hard pressed to go up there and get that top 5. But if any of those kind of bigger names struggles through the first couple stages, maybe only gets like 1 or 2 stage points or none even, maybe somebody surprisingly struggles out of the gate here, then they could be the pick. But I think right now, looking at it, I feel good about those top 5 names. So Kurt Busch is kind of the conservative pick where if somebody has some trouble, I can put him into the lineup and still pick up a solid like 27 to 32 kind of points.
Yeah. That's a good one. I'd probably bench Bell if I'm going to be looking at somebody right now, just based off of previous numbers. But I think the 20 car could be a pretty underlying candidate for a good run here this weekend. I think it's a good one.
All right. Yeah, I know that Adam Stevens connection makes a lot of sense there. I like that.
Yeah. So let's look at the honorable mentions that I've got for this weekend. Obviously, every single person that we have in our lineups, I think, is pretty good value this weekend, no matter how you want to look at it. Denny Hamlin as well.
Can you just say like one of my guys is a stay away from so that they automatically do well?
I don't have any of your guys as a stay away from. They were all in my honorable mentions this weekend. Blaney and Byron were in there, so I was looking at both of them. Almirola as well, just based off of having really, really good numbers here in the past.
It's his best track, essentially.
Yeah,
so
it's just that starting position back in. I think it's 28th, and the 10 cars just looked abysmal to start the season. I can't go with the 10 car here.
Back in 32nd, actually.
32nd, even worse.
He's way back.
Yeah, that's pretty difficult.
I think he's 28th in points, so...
Potato. It's bad no matter how you want to look at it.
It's not good.
Joey Logano as well, obviously the defending race winner of this particular race. I just feel like I don't want to overdo Logano so quickly to start the season here, so I'm going to hold back on him. Like I said, Denny Hamlin, I just don't want to play him here yet because I've already used up 2 usages on him. I can't use a third one in the 5th race of the season. That's way too heavy for me to start the year. So I'm going to hold back on Hamlin. He's had a hit or miss luck here in the past, ran poorly to his standards, I guess, in the fall race, got in a wreck in the first race last season. So I'm going to stay away from the 11 for right now, but he's definitely, if you have 9 or even 10 usages still left on him, he's probably a good play here after his really, really strong start to this season. And then my stay away from is Chase Briscoe. This guy has struggled in the Xfinity Series here last season. He's never admitted that this was a good track. The 14 cars run really, really good here with Clint Boyer.
Yeah, Boyer was really strong last year.
He would have been 100% in my lineup if he was still in the Cup Series. But Chase Briscoe, I think with that 14 car, I think he's going to struggle this weekend. Just hasn't quite got to the Cup Series level with this car yet. He hasn't quite found his groove. So, which is understandable. It's going to take some adjustment period as it usually does for rookies. But I think he's definitely one you should stay away from. Just if you're looking at that 14 cars in general, stay away from him. I would say Martin Truex Jr. Stay away from this weekend as well. Has had some decent numbers here in the past. Don't get me wrong. But there's more valuable tracks for him, Martin Truex Jr.
I was
this
going to
season.
say more value other places when you look at the amount of road courses as well.
Yeah,
as tracks just that he's been better at. It's just if there wasn't so many road courses, then maybe this could be a potential swing, but
not for me.
Just not enough value here for him.
Alex Bowman, the Tucson, Arizona native. No,
I like that.
Don't put him in your lineup this weekend.
I like you putting him in a stay away from is what I mean here, because obviously you think Bowman, you think his coming out party was at this track, but since then it's been like
very bad luck.
So
very bad luck and bad runs.
Waiting to see him kind of bounce back here, but until that happens, nowhere near my fantasy lineup.
Absolutely not. He has to prove me wrong for me to put him in my lineup for it to be right. Don't put Alex Bowman in your lineup this weekend. This guy is too good for mile and a half. And I think, as we saw last season, he comes on stronger later in the season. So it's probably best to save a little bit of usages for him right now. I don't know if you'll get to 10. You probably will, depending on how you want to look at things. He's kind of like that fringe guy, 8 to 10 kind of range, I would say.
If they go on a run in the middle of the season, I think you could get up to 10, but I think he's a guy you probably finish like 8 or 9.
Yeah, for sure. And then Ricky Stenhouse Jr., he's got a good starting position, starting 11th. Doesn't have really good numbers here in the past, so I'd stay away from him. When I just look at the top 10 and 11, 12 drivers there, that's one guy that was in there. I just decided to stay away from him. I think there's your big names that are going to excel this weekend. There also could be some underlying candidates that restarts could get pretty dicey as well that we've seen in the past year at Phoenix.
It's always nuts.
So there's a possibility for some surprise results here this weekend. I would say more so than the mile and a halves, just because strategy seems to come into play. 2 tires or 4 tires this weekend. That's going to be a fun storyline to watch if the cautions fall right. But yeah, that's the honorable mentions, the stay away froms, and our fantasy lineups for this upcoming week at Phoenix. Let's get to the bonus picks for this race weekend.
Who starts this one off again? I can't remember.
I think you do, because I go.
So we got
you go first.
Yes.
And
Yes. Because we've got 7 total picks because we do the Xfinity as well. So yes.
Yeah.
I go first, and we start with Top Chevrolet, correct?
Yes.
I've said it time and time again. My strategy, if I'm not using Chase Elliott in my lineup, I want to find value potentially elsewhere. Chase Elliott as my top Chevrolet. Look, I think that there could be some potential value there with Larson or even William Byron as a potential swing, but Chase Elliott, he was very strong here last year. I don't want to use that usage up for him just yet. I want that team to find their groove, and then I'll use them. Otherwise, I'm just using them at the road courses and the tracks that are like his top tier. So for Chase Elliott here, strong last year, I'll put him as my top Chevrolet. If he finishes there, get me an extra few points without having to use up a usage for him.
Yeah, I'll match you on that. That's the reason why I didn't go with him in my lineup. I'm going to just try and get some 5 extra bonus points here with Chase Elliott. If he has a good run, then that's just going to benefit both of us. We just kind of cancel each other out with this one, but I had him in there no matter what you did. Chase Elliott was always going to be my guy for top Chevrolet. Just in case something happens with Larson or something like that, I just don't want to risk that. So I think Chase Elliott's a bit of a safer bet.
It just makes sense.
Had a poor week last week, and he's due for a bounce back, if you want to call it that, this weekend.
Exactly. And still has a good starting position as well.
Yep.
So
top Ford finisher. This is an interesting one. You got your 3 Penske's and Kevin Harvick. That's the guys that you're looking at for this category, obviously. That's basically every week what you're looking at.
You don't want to take a swing on Almirola here?
I don't think I'm going to take a swing on Almirola here. All right. My top Ford finisher for this weekend is Brad Keselowski. I'm going with the 2 car this weekend. I really, really feel good about him. After a strong run at Las Vegas, I think he's going to translate that into success here this weekend. Just because of Kevin Harvick's a little bit slow start to the season, I'm going to just capitalize on the 2 cars momentum that he seems to be having, and I'll stick with him as my top Ford.
I'm going to go Penske as well, but I'm going to go with Ryan Blaney. I think that when you look back to 2019, 2 third-place finishes, excluding the crash in the spring race last year, 6th in the season finale here. And when you look at how the top 4 or the championship 4 always dominates the top 4, that's some promising speed there as well. Good starting position here once again. I think that he'll be in conversation for the win here this week, and so I'll toss him as my top Ford here.
I just know Joey Logano is going to be the top Ford finisher now because I don't pick him this week. 100%. You can clip it up right now if he is. I mean, it's just basically destiny. As soon as I don't pick him, he has a good week. If he does, then he has a bad one. But at the end of the day, I don't mind if Logano has a bad weekend. So, top Toyota finisher, Cushman.
Back to me, and this one's pretty easy for myself. Kyle Busch. He's got the best numbers here over the last 6 races, super consistent, good starting position. And for Kyle Busch, the strengths lie at the 750 horsepower package races. So Kyle Busch, top Toyota for myself.
Bada bing, bada boom, baby. I'm cashing in on Mr. Busch. 100%. There's no doubt in my mind that I was going to.
Denny Hamlin is an interesting swing, but I still feel much better about Kyle here.
Yeah, I think the 18 car is a sneaky little candidate here for a very, very good run. Love to see him in victory lane, obviously. We'll see what happens. He's going to be running a different paint scheme this weekend as well, the Stanley Tools. We've never seen Kyle Busch in a Stanley Tools Cup Series paint scheme, so that's going to be a bit of an odd one to run. The Sport Clips one last year. Let's hope it's not a new
pedigree car.
No, that's its own thing. That's yeah. You know how much that drives me nuts that he sucks in a pedigree car? Because I love dogs, obviously. Like it's just like the best paint scheme, but then he sucks in it sometimes. Worse luck, but nonetheless. Winning manufacturer. This is a very, very interesting one. These two, because I don't really have a favorite for the race winner pick. I think this can go a whole bunch of different ways. It's just who nails the setup basically this weekend, because you're not going to have many opportunities on pit road to adjust this thing through the course of the race. You have to unload strong, and if you do, then you're in a good position. If you don't, you're not going to have much time to make it up, and if you do, it's going to be most likely the second or third stage by the time that you have figured it out and you've lost out on some crucial stage points. So for winning manufacturer this upcoming weekend, I'm going to go with Ford. I like all three Penske cars and Kevin Harvick. I think that's just kind of like my baseline there. If it's not one of those four, then I'm definitely would lean towards Chevrolet than Toyota this weekend, just based off of Chase Elliott and Kyle Larson's speed to start the season. But I'm going to go with Ford here as my winning manufacturer.
I'm going to match you with Ford. I think that they've just got the most players for the victory spread across obviously the three Penske cars and then Kevin Harvick there specifically. And for Toyota, Kyle Busch is there, Denny Hamlin's there, but other than that, there isn't a ton of value there. And for Chevys, you could potentially go there. I think that would too be my second option here, but I'll match you with Ford. I think they've got the highest percentage play here for the winning manufacturer. For organization, though, I'm not going with one of the Ford teams. I'm going with Hendrick Motorsports here again. It worked for me last week going with the Hendrick Motorsports pick. Kyle Larson got the win. Got me a few extra bonus points, so at least salvaged a little bit for me in what was a pretty lackluster performance from myself, I'm not going to lie. But when I look here, Kyle Larson's got excellent numbers here and a good starting position. Chase Elliott, of course, is the most recent winner here. And William Byron as well has a strong start to the year and has some low-key solid numbers here relative to his entire Cup Series career. So two specific players that I think are legitimate race winner potential picks, and then kind of an underdog one there as well for Hendrick Motorsports. They've been super strong to start the year. I'm riding the wave. I'm going to have Hendrick as my winning organization.
Yeah, I have them as well.
Nice. Hey, I like it.
I hate to match you so much on these, but like it's just.
Hey, I've done it as well. It's okay.
Yeah, fair enough. But I just can't go against Hendrick right now. They're just on such a roll. And like we alluded to in our last episode, the Hendrick and ECR engine package, I think really suits these kind of tracks as well with the 750 horsepower package. I think you'll see it really come to play here with how much of an advantage that kind of relationship is already built. So I like Kyle Larson and Chase Elliott a lot this weekend. It's just managing my Chase Elliott usages where I just can't play him every single weekend as much as I would like to. I can't. So I'm going to go with Hendrick as kind of like my soft zone, I guess, and leave Toyota out of the loop here with the bonus picks with JGR and Toyota. So winner picks.
Yes.
The most important ones. Obviously, Xfinity doesn't really matter, but I get to go first with this one. I'm going to go with it.
Yeah, Xfinity's just for fun.
Yeah, but the Cup Series one is where you get 15 extra bonus points. So that's like a bit. We haven't gotten one right yet, so we'll see if we can get it right this weekend. But for the Xfinity Series this weekend on Saturday, I'm going to go with Austin Cindric. Just won the race here in the fall. The defending champion, the 22 car, seems to be off to a really good start this season. And when I look at the lineup that he's up against this weekend, there's no Cup guys in the field as well. I just think Austin Cindric is just a bit too good of a play here for an Xfinity Series victory.
Yeah, makes a lot of sense there. And that's, I think, the obvious kind of first pick there. But going up against it, I'll take the other kind of obvious one, I guess, and it's the guy he was going head-to-head with the championship last time out, Justin Allgaier. Look, for Junior Motorsports, it's been a rough start to the year, but they've had some speed at points. Noah Gragson, of course, had the win taken away from him there at the end. Otherwise, we'd probably looking at Junior Motorsports start to the year a lot differently. Yeah. But Justin Allgaier, Phoenix is one of his best tracks. They showed very well in the season finale. We're just beat by Penske there at the end of things. I think he's going to be a legit player here in this race. And so I'll say Junior Motorsports gets on the board here at Phoenix with Justin Allgaier. I will say, though, I really thought about going with Joe Gibbs and not with Ty, but Harrison Burton, because he's had a couple really solid runs here. I thought about going with Burton, but I think that we'll see the two kind of big players from the championship race show up once again here.
Harrison Burton was my second guy, just because Jason Ratcliffe has had really good success here in the past, and obviously that's the crew chief.
That's right.
And that 20 cars always run really, really good here around Phoenix. So last pick of the day, Kyle, you have the honors of going first. Cup Series winner pick. Who are you going with? I'm deciding between two guys right now, so we'll see what you do here with your pick.
So am I. Funny enough,
it's not the same
really
guys. There's no way.
Going with as I start this, so I'm gonna talk until I have a decision.
Gonna pull a me here.
Is that I'm deciding between two Kyles. I'm deciding between Mr. Busch and Kyle Larson. When I look at the numbers here, Kyle Busch obviously has the best average finish over the last 6 races here. Good starting position, 750 horsepower package. You expect them to be better here. But I'm going to go a little bit bold with it. Kyle Larson's going back-to-back. He's going to take the checkered flag here at Phoenix. Look, the way that these first few races of the season start out is actually really favorable for Kyle Larson in terms of when you look at his top tracks over his career. Vegas has been one of the top tracks of his career. Yeah. And so, too, has Phoenix. And having them back-to-back here coming off of the win, a lot of momentum building. When I look at Cliff Daniels, they had an excellent car last time out in the season finale with Jimmy Johnson here. Larson has been a top 5 guy with Chip Ganassi here. I think that he's going to show very, very strong, have another big day, and kind of blow it open for him having a monster season this year. Kyle Larson gets the win at Phoenix.
I'm shocked, but that was the two guys you were deciding between. I did not see that coming, because I wasn't looking at either of those guys really for my race winner pick here. It was Chase Elliott and Brad Keselowski for me here for my race winner pick. This is tough because I think both of these guys are going to be really, really good this weekend. Damn. I don't know why, but I feel really, really good about Brad Keselowski. So I'm going to go with the 2-car this weekend. I don't know what it is, but I'm going to go with Brad. Oh man, I don't understand where this is coming from, but I picked him to win the championship last season just based off of how well he ran. I was off at second basically in all of those championship predictions that we historically struggle at. So we'll see if I can get it right here this time with Brad. I like him on pole. Damn, I've always had this logic where I'd rather start on the back than on pole, but this weekend I'm going to go with the pole position. I'm going to say Brad Keselowski gets it done off the pole, and he's run really well here in the past couple of seasons, I'd say. Obviously, we talked about that before. Yeah. I think when I look at what he had last season, there's not going to be as much time for development or as much change from the November race to now as what it will be from here to November this year. So I'll stick with the theme of Brad Keselowski good at this track. And obviously that team always goes out for a strategy call. So we'll see if they maybe have to pull one off in the late goings of the race to try and steal this one. So I'll go with Brad Keselowski. I got all my bases covered.
Going really bold with the first and second place finishers from last week, eh?
Yeah, look at us. But I really, really hope Brad has a good weekend because you don't have him in your lineup. So if he does what I think he could do, game over, I think.
Not necessarily game over. Not necessarily.
I like what we have going on here. A lot of similar bonus picks. 2 guys, as per usual, I'd say, on average.
Yeah, it's usually
4 of the same, 2 different. Yeah. And they're really, really intriguing differences. Obviously, Ryan Blaney and William Byron to Brad Keselowski and Christopher Bell. However you want to look at that, very similar in terms of driving experience and style. So, yeah, very, very excited for this one. It proved to be as hyped as what I thought it was going to be with Fantasy Preview this week, Kyle. I have to say.
It feels good. I'm feeling good, honestly. I think this is going to be a really, really fun one to watch play out because we got some big differences there when you look at some of the names involved. So very excited to see how this one plays out.
For sure. All right. That does it for the NASCAR Fantasy Preview for Phoenix this upcoming weekend. Any final thoughts before we wrap up this episode, Kyle?
Just very excited for this whole weekend here now with fantasy playing out like it has. Very excited for that Sunday race because really there is no favorite going into things. We kind of saw some of the players we kind of expected go to the front at Vegas. It was just kind of Penske, Larson had good numbers there, but what it kind of play out, and it was just kind of who would actually prevail there. And it kind of played out. It was a great race, but it kind of played out with the players we kind of expected. Here, you could kind of list out like 6-7 names, honestly, and all of them have like equal shots to win here. So very excited for this one. Xfinity race as well, ARCA as well, obviously will be going on or have finished up by the time you're listening to this, but a very interesting starting lineup entry list there as well, with a couple of Truck Series drivers going back down in Zane Smith and Derek Kress as well. A lot of really good prospects in that race. So fun weekend of racing coming up here.
100%. Obviously, F1 finishes their testing by the time we talk to you next. So we'll give you all the scoop on what's happened over the past couple of days, reliability problems, who looks pretty decent coming out of testing. Of course, we're not going to read into too much of that because we all know Mercedes is most likely going to be at the front of this grid. It's just
there's a lot of sandbagging that
it's
goes
just
on.
how far ahead are they above the competition after this one, right? I'm very, very curious to see how that all unfolds with the season coming up. Obviously, we'll preview that next week, as you mentioned earlier on in the episode. So lots of fun stuff staying here at the Green Flag. So make sure you come back for more. It's going to be a fun start to the Formula One season. Make sure to follow us on Instagram at the Green Flag Pod, as well as Twitter at the Green Flag Pod. We'll be on there all weekend long, trying to give you the latest in our opinions through social media version of ourselves on Twitter and Instagram. And then, of course, subscribe to the YouTube channel. Leave a like on this video if you enjoyed it. And all the links to our social channels will be in the description of the video. But for this episode, I've been Lukas Wacker. He's been Kyle Cushman. Signing off for now. We will talk to you next week to recap Phoenix.